Alright, so I'm here to talk about my favorite horror board game. Horror is a, loose term. I don't think any board games are, terrifying, although some of them can be. But for this one, I am picking Mountains of Madness by Yellow Games. It's a 3 to 5 player cooperative board game, but everybody is crazy in it. It's got some Lovecraftian lore. You are basically trying to climb up a mountain to reach your helicopter to fly off to safety, but everyone in the crew has gone mad, in essence. And the higher up the mountain you go, the more into the game you go, more people are going to get crazy. Throughout the game, you're going to have levels of insanity or madness, and it hinders your ability to communicate with the other players. Every time you flip over the timer where you have to talk to the other players and actually communicate and figure out how many items of each thing that you need, everyone might have a limit to their communication. Some people might not be able to talk until they give everyone a high five. Some people might have to stand as far away from the table as possible and yell. Some people might have to whisper. Some people might have to rhyme. Some people, if they hear a certain word, might just have to yell and never talk again. When you mix all of these together, it makes for this very silly but stress-inducing feeling, because you're trying to accomplish something. You only have 30 seconds to do it, and everyone needs to communicate effectively and nobody can. If you fail your mission, you have to take a penalty, and your penalty is either making somebody go even more crazy or taking wounds. And obviously wounds are bad because they hinder your victory condition. We've had a lot of fun playing this game. We actually had one game that was just really stupid where we had 2 players, and one pretty much anytime they were asked a question, they had to repeat the question back, and until the person said yes to them, they couldn't answer the question. But the person that had asked the question to them, if they were ever asked a question, they had to respond with a no. And they got in this infinite loop of yelling at each other louder and louder and louder and louder until the timer ran out, which, it made for a fun time. Rob Daviau, Coimbra are the 2 people that made this game, and you probably recognize Rob Daviau's name because he's done most of the Legacy games and Betrayal on House on the Hill. But they've done a fantastic job, because though the game isn't scary in general, it has that panic-inducing thing that I really enjoy.
Hi, my name's Amelia, and I want to talk about one of my favorite horror Halloween type themed board game, and it's actually from Lieblude, and it's Mysterium. This game is about one player playing the ghost, and then everybody else are clairvoyances, so they can speak with the ghost, and they are getting pictures from the ghost to identify who they were. It's going to go through 3 stages. Who, the place, where, and what. So the object, weapon. And as you go through the turns, the ghost will hand out cards that are pictures, and those pictures are either going to convey emotions or a word or a theme, and then you are going to match that to a picture that you see, either the person, the place, or the thing, depending on what you are on. So think of Clue with pictures. Super fun, super cute, love the game. A lot of fun, and everybody can lose together or everybody can win together. It's normally for ages 10 and up. Could be played younger if you do help the kids understand the rules a little bit, or even simplify the rules. It's for 2 to 7 players. The more people you have, the more fun it is. And it's about 42 minutes. Great game, always a fun time. And the ghost can't talk. You gotta be silent like a ghost.
Hey, this is Steve from Atlantis with my favorite horror board game pick. We probably should have planned this better. I don't know what everybody else picked. I can't not pick Dead of Winter. It is legit one of my favorite board games ever. I love everything about the game. You know, it's a zombie apocalypse game, which obviously fits very well into the horror genre. In theory, everyone is working together to accomplish whatever the main goal for the game is. You might have to, you might need to collect samples or survive a certain number of turns. There's a bunch of different scenarios that you can pick from. Each person has a secret objective, and that secret objective ranges from slightly selfish to full-on betrayal. The betrayal objective is, pretty much, your goal is usually to somehow make sure everyone else dies and you survive. But the regular secret objectives, might have you hoard food or do things that seem really suspicious to the other players. You don't know for sure that there's a betrayer. You just know that it's a possibility. Someone else might have a ton of cards in their hand, and somehow they claim they can't help out with the main objective, which seems very unlikely. But they could just have a secret objective where they have to have a certain number of cards in their hand. You don't know. So you kind of have to keep that in the back of your mind. You just really can't trust anybody in the game. One of my favorite things about the game is the crossroads deck. So at the beginning of your turn, someone flips over a card and reads it, and it'll have some kind of thing that, if you search at a certain location or you do a certain action this turn, it triggers the crossroads card, and then that card will cause something to happen in the game that generally requires the players to make a choice. Usually it's something where there's a good choice and a bad choice. Sometimes though it's just two bad choices, or sometimes there is no choice. But it's really fun, sort of story elements, kind of gives you almost that role-playing feel. There's one of them where you're out exploring and you find a horse that had been left behind, and your options are to take the horse. Your character now has a horse to ride around in the zombie apocalypse, which makes getting places a little safer and faster. However, you now have to feed that horse for the rest of the game. Or you can say bye to the horse, and you can add a bunch of extra food to your colony and feed everybody for a few more turns. But it's it's fun stuff. It's a great game. We've actually done a Let's Play for it. It's probably been a couple months now, but definitely check that out. It's definitely one of my favorite games. I could play that game every single week. It's awesome. So, but yeah, that's my board game horror pick. Thanks, guys.
Hi, Megan here to talk about my staff picks. For board games, I'm not a really competitive person, and I tend to lean more towards very narratively driven games. And honestly, even outside of horror, I think the game that does that best is Dead of Winter. It plays into a genre that I really like, obviously horror, but also zombies. And it's just, you get so wrapped up in the story because there's so much going on to make that happen, rather if it be the main task, the main objective for the whole game, or if it's the objective for that round that you're frantically trying to make sure happens, or if it's the fact that, oh no, a crossroads might pop off and just throw everything into disarray, maybe in a good way, maybe in a bad way. Or it might just be the fact that you potentially have a traitor in your midst, Steve. But you just get so wrapped up in the story that it's telling, and you kind of really find yourself fully immersed, because not only are you invested in the characters that you're playing as, but you're kind of a character in the game in itself, because the decisions that you make and the judgments that you make, the calls that you make, are going to have a big effect on the team and everybody. So yeah, I love Dead of Winter. There's plenty of other horror games that are fantastic, to say the least, but I would say that's definitely my favorite.
Board games. Obviously there's not really board games that are scary per se, but horror themed board games, my favorite one's definitely probably Dead of Winter. I've said it multiple times, it's a shop favorite game, and I feel like other people are probably going to say that too, maybe.
You was right.
I don't know, potentially. You feel like you're in a collective of people trying to survive, but you also have your own agenda, and then just in the back of your mind also knowing that somebody among you might have bad intentions, and that affects you psychologically as you're playing the game and the decisions you're making, because you want to believe that everybody's working together and you want to believe that you can win the game that way, and a lot of times you will let your guard down, and it's going to stay in the back of your head the whole time you're playing the game. But I guess if you want to say it, werewolf. I think Werewolf's perfect. I love that whole like mob mentality thing, trying to discern stuff about people. The video games like Among Us right now are popular because of it's just the werewolf thing, or the mafia, should I say, thing. It's a cool little thing. But you guys have a great and happy Halloween. Watch tons of scary movies, play some scary video games, play some horror board games, and we'll see you next time.